We are here to celebrate the 4th edition of IMB Culture Connect. We are extremely privileged and pleased to have in our midst today one of the best-selling and most popular writers of our time, Lord Jeffrey Archer. Lord Archer needs no introduction, but it would still give us a great pride to recount his numerous achievements and give you a glimpse of his rich and multifaceted life. May I please call upon Ms. Nidhi Rai to do the honors.
I myself am a very great fan of Lord Jeffrey Archer's books. In fact, it was one of his books that I spoke about even at my IIM Bangalore interview. And his books are much like his own life. They're stories of true resilience of the human spirit and through the high and lows of life.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm going to speak about writing and books, and then I'm going to take questions, so I can find out what you in the world of management want to know about. It might be about the books themselves, or it might be some aspect of publishing. I began my life as a politician, as one of the speakers pointed out. And I came to writing by mistake. At the age of 32, I found myself in terrible debt, having invested very unwisely in an American company called Aquablast. And I lost all my money. I left the House of Commons in debt, and I couldn't get a job. And I sat down and I wrote Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less, which I want to tell you, because I keep reading in the press that it was an instant bestseller, a brilliant success. It actually sold worldwide 3,000 copies. So, and if you're in debt, that doesn't help very greatly. But when it came out in paperback, that was hardback, it sold 25,000 copies. And they sold those 25,000 copies in a month. So I rang up the publishers and I said, are we going to publish another 25,000? They said, no, it doesn't work like that, Jeffrey. You write another book and we'll build on that. Then you write another book and no, I said, you've just sold 25,000 in a month. I want you to go out and sell another 25,000. No, they said. Yes, I said. No, they said. Yes, I said. And they published another 25,000, and they sold them in a month. So I said, are you going to publish another 25,000? No, they said. Yes, I said. No, they said. Yes, I said. And they published another 25,000, and they sold them in a month. Last month, I rang them up and asked them if they were going to publish another 25,000. That's 27,775,000. And I still have to ring them every month. Then came the second book, Shall We Tell the President, did quite well. Got to number 4 in Britain and about number 15 in the United States. And then I sat down and wrote a book called Cain and Abel. And that changed my whole life, absolutely and completely. The Americans, when they buy a book, a big book, they do it by auction. The script is sent to 13 or 14 of the great houses, and they auction for it to see who will pay the most. And when Cain and Abel went out, they start the auction, they're allowed to read it for a week, and then on Monday, a week later, they get 12 hours from 7 in the morning till 7 at night to bid. And the bidding on Cain and Abel went from 7 in the morning, went through till midnight, and ended with a company called Simon & Schuster, who bid $3,200,000 for it. Now, they had a problem. That is a lot of money. And they had to point out to me, quite rightly, that I was unknown in the United States. And they had to get me known as quickly as possible, because they had to get their investment back. Now, I want to tell you, management people, how it works in the United States. The New York Times has a bestsellers list. If you get into the top 15, they automatically half the price of the book. So let's say it's $20. It then becomes $10 automatically overnight. So, if you don't get in the top 15, you last 3 weeks and they send the books back. Now imagine if you've made an investment of $3,200,000 and all the books are sent back. So they said to me, we've got to get you on television, Jeffrey. We've got to get you known. We've got to get you into that bestsellers list in the 3-week period. Because if we don't, we're finished. So I said, fine. They said, one of the other problems is they don't like novelists. They'd much rather have on television and the radio non-fiction. But here's the good news, Jeffrey. We've got you on Good Morning America with Dave Hartman. And that will be your chance to launch the book to 27 million people. That's your chance. And we're going to prove how important you are. We're going to bring you over on this new aeroplane called Concorde, and then we're going to have a stretch limousine to pick you up. And then we're going to take you to the presidential suite of the Plaza Hotel. And then you will be on. Now you'll be on between 7:22 and 7:28. 6 minutes. But beware, you're sharing it with 2 other people. The first person on will be Billy Carter, brother of the President of the United States. And he is promoting Billy's beer. The second person on will be Mickey Mouse. And Mickey is presenting 75 years of Walt Disney. And then you're on for 2 minutes. Think of it as 120 seconds. We don't want to hear your name. We want to hear you say Cain and Abel as often as you can in 120 seconds. Fine, I said, I'm your man. Got it. They fly me over on Concorde. They take me in the stretch limousine. They put me in the Plaza Hotel. I don't sleep. I put on my best suit, my white shirt, my tie my wife has specially chosen. I am ready. They drive me down to NBC. I get out of the car and I go to the green room. In the green room is sitting Billy Carter and Mickey Mouse. At exactly 7:21, up goes Billy Carter. And I have to tell you, he was very good. He promoted Billy's beer very well in 2 minutes. Trouble was, he took 2 minutes and 14 seconds. So he had stolen 14 seconds of my time. Up goes Mickey Mouse. And I learned something about Mickey Mouse that day that I have taken advantage of the rest of my life. If you're on television and you know it's the last question, you go on talking. And Mickey went on for 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Now I am in big trouble. Up I go, I'm shaking, I'm nervous. I've got to get this book into the top 15. I sit down in front of Mr. Dave Hartman, and the book is in perfect condition. It is clear he hasn't even opened the cover. But he's looking at his notes. And the green light goes off, and the red light comes on, the camera comes on, and he looks at me, and he says, "Hi, Jeff." Not a good start. "I hear you came over on the Concorde." I said, "Yes, that's right. This is an amazing plane. This is a plane that starts off in London. It flies twice the height of any plane in the world. It flies twice the speed of any plane in the world. And when it lands in New York, you could have had breakfast in London, and you can have breakfast in New York. This is an achievement of engineering of which any nation on earth would be proud, not least Great Britain." To which he said, "It's been lovely having you on the show." My publishers were not pleased. Not one mention of Cain and Abel. And at the end of the first week, the book was number 42 and not going anywhere. So he said, "Don't worry, Jeffrey. Don't worry. We're sending you down to Milt Schulman in Chicago. Milt Schulman, the great Nobel Prize winner, he will be interviewing you, and you'll get 6 full minutes. Well, that was fine. Off I went to Chicago. I'm on the radio. I'm going to speak to 12 million people. So here's my chance to say Cain and Abel as often as I possibly can. And I sit down. What I didn't know about the great man, what I didn't know about the professor, was that he doesn't like to meet the person he's interviewing. He thinks it's more spontaneous if they only meet for the first time when they're actually in the room. So I go and sit in front of the professor, and he's sitting there, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, will you welcome to the studio a legend?" Will you welcome to the studio a man I have wanted to meet all my life? Will you welcome to the studio the conqueror of Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary? The professor said, "Well, but until he comes..." So that interview didn't go very well. I shot up to 34. I've now got 7 more cities to do before I reach California, and I realize they are not going to be sending me home on Concorde. This has gone badly wrong. And then I get a call from the publisher, and they say, "One more chance, Jeffrey. One more chance. Please, please don't mess it up. Please." So I go into the studio, and I sit with this white-haired gentleman, and I face him, and I think, here we go again. And he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, 3 days ago I picked up a book called Cain and Abel, and I couldn't put it down. And I want every one of you watching this program, to go out and buy it." 3 days later, the book was #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list. Nope. Times bestsellers list. And I would like to thank Johnny Carson for that very simple free advertising, which changed my whole life. They sold 1 million books 7 weeks later. It's now sold 37,700,000. And I'm told by the Times of India that 50 million people in India have read Cain and Abel. I reached the age of 70. Now, most of you in this room, perhaps 1 or 2 notable exceptions on the front row, will not have even crossed your mind that you will even reach the age of 70. But I, when I reached the age of 70, was determined to be focused, determined to remain doing something that I wanted to do. So I set out the task of writing the Clifton Chronicles. 5 books in 5 years, which was terrifically, pretty focused and really wanted to do the job. And that has been a journey for me from the age of 70. Trouble was, when I got to the 5th book, Mightier Than the Sword, Harry, the hero, is only 51, Emma is only 49, and Giles is only 51. So I had to go back to the publishers and say, "I'm very sorry, I can't kill them, all 3 of them off at the age of 51. So I will be writing book 6 and book 7. So the Clifton Chronicles are now 7 volumes, and I have got to live to the age of 77 to make sure my publishers can keep on feeding the people who they employ. I want to get just one message over to you all, though, about hard work. I want to get one message over to you about talent and hard work. Now, clearly you're talented, or you wouldn't have reached where you are now. But I always say to young people who come and see me, say, "I want to write a book, Jeffrey. I want to write a novel. I want to do what you've done." Fine. I say, I want you to go to the ballet. And they say, what? I say, I want you to go to the ballet. I want you to sit in the ballet and look at the stage. You'll see the principal ballerina, and behind her you'll see 20 young girls. And I want you to look at them. And I want you to think about how many hours' work they've done just to stand on that stage. Because that's how much work I do, wanting to be number one. And it doesn't get easier. I drive myself more each time. I am frightened of second place. I hate the concept of a silver medal. I want to be number one. You can have the talent, but if you haven't got the focus, you haven't got the ambition, you haven't got the drive, you will not make it, however talented you are. So if I ever had a message for any of you, many of you will become giants in the industry of this great country. Many of you will be leaders in this great country. And I have to say, having looked at your country for the past 40 years, there's never been a greater opportunity than there is in India today. And I say that particularly to the women present. When I first came to this country, women were second-class citizens. Last night, when I spoke in Pune, a girl of 16 joined me on stage because she'd already written her first novel at the age of 16. I had a chat to her afterwards, just before I went home, and I said, you've got a problem, you know. I can see you're ambitious and I can see you're able, but eventually, you know, men will come into your life. And she said, not a hope. They're a complete waste of space, men. So may I end, before I take questions, and this is said without any side or cleverness. Some of the greatest authors on earth say, why do they turn out for you like this in India, Geoffrey? Everywhere you go. I went to India, they say, and 14 people came to hear me speak. Why do they do it for you? And I say, I don't know. I do not know. It's a mystery to me. It's a mystery to my publisher. The one thing I've discovered is in this country, you do love storytellers. You do love people who tell a tale. Why not? You produced in R.K. Narayan one of the greatest storytellers that's ever lived. And he was a great writer at the same time. So I end this part by saying thank you. I'll come back again and again, but so would any author on earth when he's received in this way. Thank you.